She only meant to borrow $40, just enough to feed her baby. One wrong digit, one stranger on the other end. She thought he'd ignore her. Instead, he changed her life. But what started as a mistake turned into a job offer, a secret, a betrayal, and a love neither of them were ready for. This is what happens when the wrong number calls the right heart. Enjoy the story. She didn't want to ask, but Lily hadn't eaten since morning. The formula can she shook was nearly empty, like the fridge, like her bank account. Emma stared at the text she'd typed for the third time. James, I'm so sorry to ask again, but I need $40 for Lily's formula. I get paid Friday. I swear I'll pay you back. She closed her eyes, then hit send. The phone screen glowed quietly in her hand. Her thumb hovered for a second, as if she could reach in and pull the words back. But it was done. She let the phone fall beside her on the couch. The springs creaked beneath her weight. The apartment was too quiet, save for the soft, rhythmic static of the baby monitor. Lily was asleep. But for how long? She looked at the ceiling, then closed her eyes. The hunger wasn't hers, but it might as well have been. Guilt did strange things. It made your stomach hollow. Across the city, in a corner office wrapped in glass and steel, Alexander Reed scrolled through a flood of emails, the kind that made your eyes glaze. Merger terms, executive summaries, cold words in clean fonts. Then a buzz. He checked his personal phone, out of habit more than curiosity. Few people had that number. Fewer still used it. One unread message. The words stopped him cold. James, I'm so sorry to ask again. It wasn't meant for him. Alexander frowned, thumb hovering. This wasn't spam. It wasn't a prank. It read like someone reaching for a lifeline. A baby. Formula. Desperation wrapped in politeness. He should delete it. Should block the number. Move on. But he didn't. Instead, he typed, I think you have the wrong number. I'm not James. But is your baby going to be okay? Back in her dim apartment, Emma's phone buzzed. She blinked at the screen. Her stomach dropped. I'm not James. Her heart sank, mortified. She'd typed it wrong. The last digit. Just one. She responded quickly. I'm so sorry. Please ignore that. Wrong number. She dropped the phone onto the cushion beside her, burned with shame. Another failure in a long list of them. She didn't expect a reply, but one came. I could help. No strings attached. Emma stared, then scoffed. Thanks, but I don't take money from strangers. The next message came faster than she expected. Smart policy. But now I'm not a stranger. I'm Alex. What kind of formula does Lily need? Her fingers froze above the keyboard. He knew her daughter's name. But had she mentioned it in the message? She scrolled up. She had. Still, her instincts wrestled with her exhaustion, with the hope she didn't want to feel. Hope was dangerous when you were this close to empty. But maybe, just maybe, this mistake had dialed into something unexpected. Someone unexpected. Someone who didn't owe her anything, but wanted to help anyway. Emma Baker didn't look poor. Not in the way people imagined. No dirt-stained cheeks, no ripped coat, no hand outstretched on a street corner. She looked tired. in the way single mothers often did. Hair hastily tied back, dark circles like silent testimony under her eyes. Clothes clean but worn, dignified but fading. Her apartment was smaller than some closets in the high-rise across town. A one-bedroom she shared with Lily. Lily got the bedroom. Emma took the couch. She'd once been an accountant, top of her class at Georgetown. 2 years into a stable career before everything began unraveling. Pregnancy, layoff, James moving across the country. Day by day, the world pulled things from her hands, until all she had left was Lily. But somehow, Lily made the emptiness worth bearing. Her daughter didn't know what the blinking red light on the electric meter meant. Didn't care that the formula had been thinned to make it last another day. All Lily knew was her mother's voice, the rhythm of her heartbeat, and the soft hums Emma whispered when the world outside felt loud and cruel. Emma had nothing left to give, except everything. Across the city, Alexander Reed didn't look like a man with a broken heart. He looked powerful, polished, invincible. CEO of Meridian Technologies, 42. Voted most admired executive 3 years running. But the title meant less than it once did. His suits were tailored, his watch expensive, but none of that warmed the cold space he returned to every night. A penthouse wrapped in glass and silence. The world thought Alexander had everything, but they didn't see the drawer he never opened. The tiny bracelet inside. Charlotte, his daughter. She would have been 8. Leukemia stole her in pieces. He'd memorized every stage of her illness like a failing math equation. Tried to solve it with money, with specialists, with everything he had. And still he lost her. After that, love became too costly. Emotion, a dangerous luxury. He poured himself into work, structure, data, control. People whispered that he'd become colder. He didn't mind. Better cold than broken. That morning, when Emma's message appeared on his phone, something in it pierced the armor he'd welded shut. He didn't know her, but he knew desperation. And he knew what it felt like to beg the universe for one more day, one more chance, one more answer. Emma hadn't expected a second message, but it came. A stranger offering kindness without agenda. It made her suspicious, but also made her pause. Alex. That's what he called himself. He didn't press, didn't guilt. He asked which formula Lily needed. She told him, then typed, "But I'm not asking for money." His response came swiftly. "Good, because I'm not offering a loan. Just help, if you'll take it." Emma hesitated, then gave him her Venmo username. She could block him if things got weird. Moments later, her phone buzzed. $400. Not 40. 400. More than just formula. More than she'd dared ask. Her hands shook. Her eyes filled, quietly, fiercely. Not because of the money, but because someone had seen her. Without judgment. Without expectation. It wasn't just help. It was dignity, wrapped in digits. She typed 2 words, "Thank you." He replied, "Take care of Lily." That was all. No questions, no conditions. Just a man behind a screen whose name she barely knew, giving her a moment to breathe. Emma sat for a long time afterward, Lily still asleep. In that silence she allowed something she hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Thin. Fragile, but still alive. And sometimes, that was enough to begin again. The next morning, Emma woke to the sound of Lily's gentle cooing. For a moment, she didn't remember the night before. Then she saw the notification on her phone. $400. And everything came rushing back. She sat up slowly, her body still aching from too many nights on the couch. Lily smiled from her crib, arms outstretched, completely unaware that her mother had made a choice. A small, reckless choice to trust a stranger. By noon, Emma had formula, groceries, and, somehow, breathing room. For the first time in weeks, she wasn't rationing wipes or calculating bus fare. She sent a short message. "We're okay, thank you again." She didn't expect a reply, but she got one. "Hope you and Lily had a better night. I have a proposition for you." Emma stared at the message. There it was. The strings. She sighed. Her stomach sank the way it always did when she was reminded that kindness often came with a cost. "What kind of proposition?" she typed, bracing herself. The reply was swift. "Professional, not personal. I run a tech company, Meridian Technologies. We need help reconciling financial reports before a merger. Your brother James mentioned you were looking for work." Emma's fingers froze over the screen. Her heart pounded. How did he know James? How did he know she was an accountant? She hadn't mentioned it, not to him. A flicker of panic rose, tightening her throat. "How do you know James?" she typed. "And how do you know what I do?" The three dots danced for a long time. Finally, the message appeared. "I apologize. When I told my HR team about the wrong number message this morning, James realized something. He'd recently changed numbers, and my personal number is just one digit off. When he saw the message, he said, 'That sounds like my sister. Spoke highly of your skills.' That's when I connected the dots." Emma sank into the couch, phone still in hand. Her brain fought to process the logic, to find holes in the story. But it made sense. Too much sense. "This was just coincidence?" she asked. "Completely, but maybe a fortunate one for both of us." There it was again, that strange gentleness in his words. He wasn't pushing. He wasn't selling. Just offering. "It's a 3-month contract," he added. "Short term, but with the possibility of more. And yes, flexible hours. We also have on-site childcare." Emma stared at Lily, now gurgling happily from her playmat. This couldn't be real. Could it? She'd been sending out resumes for weeks. No bites, no callbacks, no second chances. And now this? "I'd like to hear more," she replied. "But I'd need flexibility. I can't leave Lily." The response came instantly. "Understood. Come in tomorrow at 10 a.m. Reception will expect you." Just like that. No interview, no forms, no hoops to jump through. Emma felt her heart pound, not from excitement, but from fear. This kind of luck didn't belong to people like her. It belonged to people with backup plans, safety nets, fathers who stayed, bosses who noticed. But for once, she was being noticed, really seen. She spent the rest of the day preparing, not just resumes and questions, but emotionally, because part of her still believed this might all vanish by morning, that it would turn out to be a scam, or a mistake. Or worse, kindness with expectations. But if there was even a 1% chance this was real, she owed it to Lily to find out. That night, she packed her thrifted blazer, pressed her only pair of professional slacks, set the alarm, and whispered to her daughter, "Maybe Tomorrow, everything changes. And across the city, alone in a penthouse that echoed too much, Alexander Reed sat staring at his phone, still unsure why he hadn't deleted the message, still unsure why her words had pierced him the way they did, but already wondering, what if this wasn't just about helping her? What if somehow it helped him too? The elevator doors opened to the top floor. Emma stepped out, adjusting the carrier strap on her shoulder. Lily stirred inside but didn't wake. A woman in her 50s greeted her with a warm but professional smile. "Martha?" She introduced herself. "Mr. Reed is expecting you." Emma nodded, her grip tightening on the diaper bag. She had expected a conference room. Or maybe HR. Not this. Not a direct path into the CEO's personal suite. She was led down a hallway lined with glass, the kind that whispered wealth instead of shouting it. Quiet art. Shelves of books that looked read, not displayed. And then, his office. Not cold, not impersonal. There was a guitar resting in the corner. Family photos. A blanket folded on a leather chair. The kind of space someone actually lived in. "He'll be right in," Martha said, then closed the door behind her. Emma placed the baby carrier gently on the couch. Lily yawned in her sleep, utterly unaware of the weight of the moment. Emma turned slowly, taking in the skyline view through the floor-to-ceiling windows. She was still staring when the door behind her opened. "You came," came the voice. She turned and saw him. He was taller than she'd imagined, not in the towering, intimidating way, more in the way that made her straighten her back without realizing it. Suit, cufflinks, slight stubble, tired eyes that didn't hide how much he noticed. "This is surreal," Emma managed. "Agreed," he said gently, extending a hand. "Alex." She took it, firm, brief. "Thank you for coming," he said. "Thank you for everything," she replied, her voice quieter. He gestured toward the small sitting area. "Please make yourself comfortable. Can I get you anything? Water? Coffee?" "Water would be great. Thank you." He left her with Lily for a moment. Emma sat, cradling her daughter's head as she adjusted the blanket. Her eyes wandered to the photo on his desk. A woman. A little girl. Alex returned and handed her a glass of water. He noticed the direction of her gaze but said nothing at first. "I should explain," he said, settling into the seat across from her. "Yesterday wasn't normal for me." Emma raised an eyebrow. "I don't make a habit of sending strangers money," he added. "And I don't make a habit of accepting it," she said. There was a beat of silence. Not uncomfortable, just full. "I know how strange this all must feel," Alex said, his voice quieter now. "But there's something about your message that stopped me. It came at the right or wrong moment." Emma tilted her head, curious. "Yesterday was the anniversary of my daughter's death," he said, eyes fixed on the glass in his hand. "I'm so sorry," Emma whispered. "Charlotte would have been 8, he said. She fought leukemia for 3 years. Emma's breath caught. Without thinking, she placed a hand over Lily's carrier. "I couldn't help her," he said. "But when I read your message, it felt like maybe I could help someone." That disarmed something in Emma. This wasn't about guilt or charity or a savior complex. It was about pain finding purpose. They sat in silence for a moment, the kind that didn't need filling. Then he handed her a folder. "Here are the job details," he said. 3 months. Confidential project. Your brother spoke highly of your integrity. We need that. Emma flipped through the pages. Numbers, responsibilities, a salary that made her blink. This is generous, she said. We pay for skill, he replied, and yours is needed. Lily stirred and began to fuss. There's a kitchenette behind that door, Alex said. It's more private if you need to feed her. Emma nodded, grateful. As she warmed the bottle, her mind raced. This wasn't just a job. It was a doorway, one that made her nervous to walk through. Because it wasn't just opportunity she felt, it was possibility. And that terrified her more than any risk. Emma started on Monday. It didn't feel like a first day. There was no badge, no orientation, no small talk over stale office coffee. Instead, she was shown to a quiet conference room just off Alex's office. Inside, a desk, 2 monitors, and a small crib already set up in the corner. She blinked at it. Martha thought of everything, Alex said, watching her reaction. She's thorough. Lily squealed from Emma's arms, reaching for the soft yellow blanket folded inside. Emma set her down gently. The baby rolled onto her back and blinked at the ceiling like it held stories only she could see. Emma took a seat, opened the files, began to read. By the end of the first week, she'd memorized the patterns in the spreadsheets. Every row told a story. Some balanced, some didn't. Subtle discrepancies. Adjusted entries that didn't quite match. They didn't scream fraud, but they whispered something. Emma made a note to ask about them, then stopped herself. Too soon. Too new. And besides, she still wasn't sure if she belonged. She caught glimpses of Alex throughout the day, always composed, always moving. But sometimes, when he thought no one was looking, he'd pause by Lily's crib. Just for a second, then move on. On Wednesday, it rained, hard, slanting rain against the office windows. Emma stood, cradling a bottle, watching the city blur into silver. Lily sucked quietly. Alex stepped in. No umbrella today? He asked. She smiled faintly. Didn't expect to need one. He reached behind his desk and pulled out a spare. Black, heavy, elegant. Keep it, he said, in case it storms again. She took it, held it in her hand longer than necessary. It wasn't just a gesture. It was an invitation to stay. The days passed, and something softened between them. Emma didn't ask about Charlotte. Alex didn't ask about Lily's father. But the space between them began to fill, not with answers, but with presence. Every morning, Emma found a coffee waiting for her at the desk. Not store-bought, brewed, black, no sugar, exactly the way she took it. She never told him. She never had to. On Friday, she worked late. Lily had fallen asleep early, and Emma had slipped into that quiet focus only numbers could bring. Alex returned from a call, loosened his tie, and sank into the chair across from her. You're still here, he said. I like quiet, she replied. He watched her for a moment, then asked, Do you miss it? Accounting, she said. No, before all this. Before life got complicated. Emma hesitated. I miss breathing without guilt, she said finally. Alex didn't reply, just nodded, like he knew exactly what that meant. She glanced down at Lily. I'd do it all again, she whispered. even the hard parts. Alex looked at her, and for the first time his voice wavered. So would I. He stood, but before he left, he said softly, "Some storms don't pass. You just learn how to walk through them." Emma looked at the umbrella leaning beside her desk, still unopened, still waiting, like her. That night, she lay awake listening to Lily's breathing. The silence of the apartment wasn't empty anymore. It felt suspended, as if the universe were holding its breath. Emma didn't know what she felt for Alex. Not yet. But she knew what it wasn't. It wasn't pity. It wasn't power. It wasn't rescue. It was something quieter. Like rain tapping at the window. Like coffee that arrived without asking. Like a man who didn't need her to say thank you, just to keep showing up. Emma found it on a Wednesday. A small inconsistency, buried deep inside the Thompson acquisition files. At first, she thought it was a typo, a rounding error, a misplaced comma. But the more she looked, the more she saw it. A pattern. Tiny amounts siphoned, redistributed, covered up by adjusted journal entries. She stayed late that night. The office was quiet. Too quiet. Even Lily had fallen asleep early in her crib near the window. Emma traced the numbers with her fingertip, as if touching them might confirm what she feared. $3 million. Over 18 months. She stared at the final total for a long time, then stood, walked down the hallway, and knocked. Alex looked up from his desk. He was on a call, voice sharp. "No, Patterson can wait. We had a deal." When he saw her, his voice changed. "Susan, give me 5 minutes." He put the phone down. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he said gently. Emma stepped forward, placed a printout on his desk. "I think someone's stealing from your company." His expression changed. He studied the numbers. His jaw tightened. "This is serious," he murmured. "I haven't told anyone else," she added quickly. "Good," he said, standing. "Don't." Emma blinked. "Not even James?" she asked. He hesitated. Then, "Especially not James. Or Vince." "Your CFO?" she asked, stunned. His face closed like a door. "We don't know how deep this goes." Emma nodded slowly, but her chest tightened. Why wouldn't he involve his own team? Why her? The next morning, she arrived early. Alex wasn't in yet. She poured herself coffee, checked her notes. When the door opened behind her, she turned, expecting him. It wasn't Alex. It was Vincent Harmon. He was taller than she remembered from the company directory, older, and smiling in a way that didn't reach his eyes. "Ms. Baker," he said. "Hard at work, I see." Emma minimized her screen quickly. "Just reviewing reconciliations," she said carefully. Vincent stepped further into the room, his eyes flicking toward Lily, asleep in her playpen. "Unusual arrangement," he said. "Private office, full access, infant in tow." Emma bristled. "Mr. Reed was kind enough to accommodate my situation." "Very generous of him," Vincent said. His tone wasn't rude, but it wasn't kind either. Just calculated. "If you need help reviewing those files," he added casually, "I'd be happy to assist." "No need," Emma said, smiling thinly. "I'm quite comfortable." Of course, he said, backing away. But just remember, Meridian was running just fine before you arrived. When he was gone, Emma exhaled shakily. Her hands trembled as she reopened the files. That evening, she confronted Alex. You didn't warn me he'd come. I didn't know, Alex replied, pacing. You told me not to talk to him, then left me alone? I didn't think. No, you didn't, she said, voice sharper now. Emma, I have a child here, Alex, she snapped. If this is dangerous, if this puts her at risk, I need to know. His face dropped. I'm sorry, he said. You're right. But the damage was done. Emma gathered her things quickly, hands fumbling with Lily's bag. Where are you going? Home, she said. You don't have to. I do, she replied. Because I don't know what this is anymore. A job, an investigation, a setup? She didn't wait for his answer. That night, her apartment felt cold again. The coffee table was cluttered with printouts. Her mind raced with timelines, variances, fraud codes, but her heart raced for another reason. She had trusted him, and maybe that was the real mistake. She looked at Lily, asleep with one arm thrown over her face like a miniature soldier after battle. Emma whispered, I won't let anyone endanger you, not even him. She didn't sleep that night. She just waited for a truth, a confession, or maybe an apology. It happened the next morning. Emma's phone buzzed just after she finished changing Lily. Unknown number. She hesitated, then picked up. Emma Baker? The voice was brisk, female, professional. Yes? This is Detective Russo, Financial Crimes Division. I'd like to ask you a few questions about Meridian Technologies. Emma's breath caught. I don't understand. There have been irregularities reported. We're asking all relevant personnel to cooperate. Could you come in this afternoon? Emma nodded slowly, though the detective couldn't see her. I have a baby. I'd need to bring her. That's fine, the detective replied. We'll make accommodations. After the call, Emma stood motionless in her apartment. The world had shifted. Again. By the time she arrived at the station, she had already made one decision. She wasn't going to protect anyone. Not Alex, not Vincent, not even herself, just Lily. Always Lily. The interview was strange. The detective's questions were vague, too vague. They weren't probing her knowledge of fraud. They were circling around something else. Her connection to Alex, her access to files, her motives. Emma's answers were clear, honest. But inside, a new fear began to grow. What if she was being framed? That evening, Alex showed up at her door. No suit, no briefcase, just tired eyes and a voice full of tension. I need to talk to you, he said. Emma didn't invite him in. Are you here to confess something? She asked, holding Lily against her chest like a shield. Yes. She waited. I haven't been completely honest with you, he said, quiet now, about how this started. Emma didn't blink. Go on. He took a breath. When your message came in, I told you it was a mistake, that I was just trying to help. That's mostly true, but I also knew who you were. Her mouth went dry. What? James had mentioned you. Months ago, your skills, your situation, I remembered. And when your message came through, it felt like fate, like a chance to bring someone in from the outside, someone with no connection to our executive team. You targeted me, Emma whispered. You used my desperation. No, Alex said quickly. I gave you a job, a real one, a fair one. I saw what you could do, and I needed someone who wouldn't be compromised. She looked at him, eyes blazing. And what am I now, Alex? A tool? A pawn in some boardroom chess game? No, he said again, more quietly this time. You're the only person I trust. Emma said nothing. I'm working with the FBI, he continued. Vincent's laundering money, and someone on the board is protecting him. We needed proof. We needed someone clean. Emma's legs gave out. She sank into the arm of the couch, Lily wriggling in her arms. Alex stepped forward. They're trying to frame us both. You're not safe. She looked up at him. Then what do we do? There's a safe house, he said. Martha's waiting. We leave now. Emma didn't move. Why should I believe you? She asked. Alex looked at her with something that wasn't just regret. It was grief. Because he knew what trust looked like, and what it cost to break it. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a folded photograph. Charlotte, a little girl with bright eyes and a paper crown. Emma held his gaze, then nodded. Martha met them at a nondescript apartment across town. Inside, clean linens, stocked fridge, baby supplies, everything Emma hadn't had weeks ago. How long do we stay? Emma asked. Until it's safe, Alex said. Until we can expose them. Emma sat down, Lily asleep in her lap. Everything had been stripped away, her pride, her independence, her safety, but not her clarity. I'll help you, she said. But after this, I decide where my life goes. Alex nodded. Of course. And for the first time, his voice didn't sound like a CEO. It sounded like a man, grateful, and maybe, just maybe, changing. Emma didn't sleep that night. Neither did Alex. They sat across from each other at the small kitchen table in the safe house. Lily lay between them in a portable crib, surrounded by quiet. Outside, the world moved on like nothing was wrong. But inside, the next 24 hours would decide everything. The next morning, they met Agent Keller at a plain brick office building. Emma presented her findings, calmly, methodically. Every discrepancy, every siphoned amount, every shell company linked to Vincent Harmon. You've done more than enough, Keller said. We'll take it from here. But Alex shook his head. No, you need him to lie, to present his case to the board while the FBI listens in. Keller nodded. And when he does, we move. 3:00 p.m. Meridian Technologies' boardroom shimmered with light from the glass walls, but the tension inside was thick. Emma sat in an adjacent room watching the feed on a monitor. Her heart raced. Across the screen, Vincent stood at the head of the table, all charm and practiced concern. It pains me to present this, he began, passing out folders. But the evidence is clear. Alexander Reed and an accomplice, Emma Baker, have been siphoning funds to offshore accounts for months. Emma clenched her fists. His lies were calm, smooth, executed with surgical precision. Alex didn't flinch. That's a serious accusation, he said. Vincent nodded solemnly. I only wish it weren't true. Alex glanced toward the door, the signal. Agent Keller opened it. Emma entered. The board gasped. She walked to the head of the table, flanked by 2 FBI agents. "I'm not here to defend Alex," she said. "I'm here to show you who's really been stealing from this company." She opened her report and began. Every detail, every adjusted entry, every transaction Vincent thought he'd hidden. The room went silent, until Agent Keller added, "We've verified her findings. Mr. Harmon is the beneficial owner of 3 shell companies receiving the funds." Vincent's face paled. He stood suddenly, eyes darting toward the exit. "Don't," Keller warned, already moving. But it was too late. Vincent lunged toward Emma, something flashing in his hand. Alex moved faster. He stepped between them just as agents tackled Vincent to the ground. Emma screamed. Blood bloomed on Alex's shirt. "It's okay," he gasped. "Just a scratch." 3 hours later, the building had emptied. Vincent was in custody. So were 2 board members who had protected him. Emma sat in Alex's office. Now hers, technically. A promotion would come. So would recognition. But all she could think about was the quiet moment after the chaos. When Alex, still pale but upright, had whispered, "I told you I trusted you." She hadn't answered then. She couldn't. That night, they returned to the safe house. Martha brought Lily, who clapped her hands when she saw Alex. He crouched down despite the bandage on his side. "She's a tough one," he said. "She takes after her mother," Martha replied. Emma watched them both. Her daughter. This man. This moment. The storm had passed, but something deeper remained. Not noise, not adrenaline, stillness, connection, possibility. The next morning, Alex made coffee. Emma sat at the table, Lily in her lap. "You're quiet," he said. "I'm thinking," she replied. "About?" "Whether I trust you." He nodded, accepting the weight of her words. "I can't undo how this started," he said. "But I can choose how it continues." She looked at him. No promises, no declarations, just one question. "Do you want us in your life, Alex?" He didn't answer with words. He set down 2 mugs, one black, one just the way she liked it. Then he placed a tiny paper crown on Lily's head. She laughed. Emma smiled. And for once, the answer didn't need to be spoken. 6 months later, Meridian Technologies was different now. The board was smaller, the financial systems tighter, and the office on the top floor? It now belonged to Emma Baker. Not by accident, not by pity, but because she earned it. She arrived every morning at 8:30 sharp, laptop in one hand, Lily in the other. Martha greeted them with coffee and a soft smile, the same way she had greeted Alex all those years before. Only now, there were 2 coffee cups on the tray, one with a splash of oat milk, just the way Emma liked it. That morning was the annual holiday gathering. Staff filled the main atrium with laughter and soft music. Emma wore a burgundy blazer that made her feel like someone who had survived something, because she had. She watched as her team accepted an award for implementing the new internal audit systems. Lily toddled between legs and chairs, clapping at everything. At one point, she ran straight to Alex. He scooped her up effortlessly. She kissed his cheek before crawling into the crook of his arm, content. Emma saw it, and something in her heart steadied. Later that night, Emma stood by the window of their new home. Not a penthouse, not a one-bedroom shoebox, just home. Safe, bright, the kind of space that held warmth in its walls. She looked over her shoulder. Alex was on the floor with Lily, helping her stack wooden blocks with quiet concentration. He looked up, caught her gaze, and smiled. "Ready?" Emma nodded. He stood, wiped his hands, and stepped toward her. Then, before their friends and staff and the people who had witnessed their impossible beginning, he held her hand, cleared his throat, and said, "We have something to share." No one was surprised. Not really. But when Emma lifted her left hand and the light caught the ring, there was applause, and something more tender: belief that even the messiest beginnings could end in clarity. That night, after Lily was tucked in, after the dishes were done, after the silence returned, Emma curled into Alex on the couch. "I never told you," she whispered. "Told me what?" he asked, kissing the top of her head. "That I almost didn't send the text. That night. I typed it 3 times before I hit send." Alex smiled against her hair. "And I almost deleted it." She laughed softly. "Wrong number." "Right person," he said. They didn't speak after that, just breathed in sync. 2 people who had every reason not to believe in second chances, and still chose to. Across the room, a framed photo sat on the mantel. A paper crown. A girl named Charlotte. Emma had placed it there herself. Beside it, a photo of Lily, reaching for the sky with both hands. The 2 girls would never meet. But in this house, their stories had intertwined. One was memory, one was future, and both were love. Sometimes, Emma still thought about that night. The rain, the hunger, the $40 she didn't have, and how it led here, to something so strange, so unlikely. And yet, more real than anything she'd ever known. She didn't believe in fate, but she believed in moments. And some moments, however small, however desperate, could split your life in 2. She whispered softly, just before sleep took her. "Thank you for answering." Alex didn't reply, but his hand found hers beneath the blanket, and that was enough. It always had been.